what you have to put up with in your life is what you've tolerated in the past.
I'm moving, I made a few mistakes, but I'm improving. I'm human, but I've been making daily resolutions. I got to. You might do it different, but I'm not you.
Hey, Mark.
I'm self-made. I'm
Hey, Mark.
doing things that I
Mark.
was never taught.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I'm Mark. Like to have open and authentic conversations about, mental health, physical health, depression, anxiety, essentially the things that we don't want to talk about, we don't like to talk about. And the reason I want to do that is because, I think that increasing the conversation, increasing the awareness around these types of topics that, we don't want to talk about, like, depression, anxiety, self-esteem, self-image, and, self-worth, all these things that we, don't want to talk about. I think that the more that we increase these conversations, the more that we increase this kind of awareness, the less people have to suffer in silence. And so I think it's important to try and be the type of people that, we needed when we were younger. And that's essentially what I'm trying to do by, increasing these conversations, increasing the types of these conversations, I guess. And so if you're down with that shit, if you're down with this message, feel free to follow along this journey. If you're not, if you like people suffering, then fucking go somewhere else, listen to another podcast. You're not going to like this. So what we're trying to do is pursue happiness, pursue success, pursue basically loving one another and being supportive of one another. And so, like I said, if you're down with that, let's go, baby. So what I wanted to chat with you today is something that's really been bugging one of my buddies the last, last day. And so I guess you'll probably be able to understand pretty quick when I tell you what this episode is going to be about. I'm sure you've read the title by now. That's, what to do when your friends disappoint you. And so this is a tough situation because there's many reasons or causes or ways that they could disappoint you. And so let's start off by, addressing, the most difficult one. Could this possibly be your fault? And so what I mean by that, before you get too pissed off with me, is, think about how your friend disappointed you. Think about, maybe this is a loved one. Maybe it's more than just a friend. Maybe it's one of your best friends. Maybe it's, a loved one. But let's just call them a friend for now. And you can kind of assume how close you are, and just apply it to your life. And so maybe this is just a friend. Maybe it's a close friend. Maybe it's a lifelong friend. Maybe it's a loved one. Maybe it's a sibling. Maybe it's a family member. I don't know. But let's just think about, how did this person disappoint you? And could it be your fault, right? Could it be, something that they did wrong? Was it something that they didn't do that they were supposed to do? Maybe was it something that they said? Maybe was it the way that they said it? Was it the timing that they said it? Who knows? But think about it, right? Could it possibly be partly your fault that you're disappointed? Did you set expectations that you'd set for yourself onto somebody else? Did you set, expectations that you've never had for this person onto this person? Were you hoping that they were going to do some sort of unprecedented behavior that they didn't do because they've never done it and you didn't communicate that to them? Did you possibly play a role in your friend, family member, loved one, whatever you want to call them? Did you play a role in them disappointing you by setting unrealistic expectations or expectations that weren't communicated properly? Did you tell them when you were disappointed and maybe you misunderstood the situation? Maybe you misinterpreted it? That way they'd be able to learn from their mistake if it was a mistake and then be able to discontinue that behavior or habit or whatever it was that disappointed you in the future. Were you able to communicate that with them? If not, maybe they're unaware that they even disappointed you in the first place. And chances are they're probably not going to stop that behavior, habit, or action, whatever it is. So maybe that's the way that they disappointed you. You have to also understand that, maybe it was a one-off. Maybe it was just a one-time thing. Maybe it was a mistake that they made just this one time. So yeah, obviously it disappoints you, but you have to also understand that we're all humans. We all have flaws. And if somebody makes a mistake once, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to make that mistake over and over and over again. And that's just the type of person that they are, right? So you have to understand that you have to take responsibility for the expectations you set for other people. You have to also take responsibility for your communication of, if you were disappointed, why you were disappointed, when you were disappointed, and how they could improve that. You also have to take a step back sometimes and just understand that sometimes people do make a one-off mistake. We are all human. We do have flaws. And so that's, certain ways that you can kind of shift the responsibility into your own hands, alleviate the situation from ever happening in the future, and alleviate any pain that's kind of, probably surrounding whatever happened. But let's flip the script. Maybe it is their fault. Maybe this is something that you've communicated in the past and this person just continues to disappoint you. So first off, what I will say is, look, what you have to put up with in your life is what you've tolerated in the past. So if you have somebody that continues behavior or habits or actions that piss you off or disappoint you, and you haven't communicated that in the past and you continue to tolerate it, it's going to continue to happen. It is just a law of life. I don't think that anyone could possibly disagree with that. I think that that's pretty self-explanatory. But look, maybe this person has disappointed you with some of their behaviors or their actions, the way that they've spoken to you or the way that they've treated you. Maybe you've communicated that to them. Maybe they continuously tell you that they're going to continue to try and fix the situation, but they continue to do it. They continue to repeat this behavior over and over again that is disappointing or hurting you. So that's when you kind of have to make the judgment call. Like, yeah, they might be putting in effort, but maybe they're just not in the right spot right now. Maybe they're just not in the right headspace. Maybe this is something that they don't actually want to change, and they're just saying that they want to change it because you want them to change it, and they like making you happy when they're around you. And so, yeah, what do you do when a friend disappoints you? If they're doing it on purpose and they're doing it continuously, you have to understand that, look, you're not responsible for everybody's actions. You're not responsible for everybody's behaviors. And some people are going to do things that maybe don't align with your values, or they're just maybe actions or behaviors or habits that, you don't want around you. You might be somebody that, is very adaptive to the people around you. You might be somebody that, kind of picks up the habits of those people around you, which is most people. You are who you surround yourself with. And so if you are disappointed in somebody around you, they don't care about the fact that you're disappointed, or they don't really have any intentions of changing their behaviors, or maybe they've just been doing this behavior for so long that you have no impact on it because it's so solidified in their, neurological pathways, maybe, that they just continue to do it over and over and over again. It might be time to kind of distance yourself from that person, or just at least understand that you don't have to feel responsible for the shit that they do. If somebody wants to continue to make the same fucking mistakes over and over and over and over again, it's not up to you to change their life. Like, you've always heard the saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink. But then when we come to apply that in our real lives, we think that we can change the actions and behaviors of the people around us just because we love them or just because they love us. At some point, it might be time to distance yourself, distance your energy and your efforts away from those things. There's so many other ways that you could be working on yourself, improving upon yourself, maybe emotionally, spiritually, physically, that trying to do it for somebody that doesn't want to change is just a waste of your time and energy. It's going to hurt you and it's going to hurt them. So sometimes you have to distance yourself and let people figure out their problems on their fucking own. If they don't want help, you can't help them. And that's something that's really difficult to understand, and it's something that I'm still trying to understand myself. This is something that I have to consistently remind myself as well. If someone doesn't want to change, if someone doesn't want to make an adjustment in their life, you can't force them to do that. And they might not even have to make that adjustment. It might be just something that you value in your life. And so sometimes you just have to let people make their own decisions, make their own mistakes if they're not wanting to listen to your advice. And they might come back to you in the future and say, maybe I need some help with this problem. Do you think you can give me a little bit of advice? Or do you think you can give me a tip or a helping hand? And at that point, you're going to be able to help that person out. But like I said, before all of that comes into play, you have to understand where this disappointment kind of is rooted. And in my personal opinion, that is, the first step is your expectations. The second step is the communication of those expectations. And then probably the follow-up to that would be, the communication of the disappointment, and then the communication as well of what your proposed solution is. If that continues and you tolerate that disappointment or that behavior or the habits or the actions that disappoint you, if you tolerate those things, you can't really be upset by them because that's what you're allowing to happen in your life. And then if you've made it very clear that, you cannot tolerate those things, you've, had all this communication, you've readjusted or recalibrated your expectations, and there's still no change, you're still seeing that disappointment in this person, then like I said, maybe it's time to take a step back. Maybe it's time to kind of analyze the situation of how you got there in the first place, because if you don't, then this pattern is going to continue for the rest of your life. So I hope that helped bring a new perspective to this type of topic for you. I hope that this kind of helped you out. And I hope that that's, obviously trickles into your life and helps you out with the relationships that you have with your loved ones, your friends, your family members, your partner maybe even. This is something that is going to be very difficult to kind of work through and to communicate, but as is everything else in life that's, worth it. It's difficult. The good parts come after the struggle. So go through these tough conversations if you need to. And that's really the only way to improve these types of relationships. Thank you so much for the love, for the respect, and the support that you guys continue to show. It really means the world to me. Thank you so much. You are the reason I do what I do. Thank you, and peace out.